Hello, DeFi Alpha Gang. My name is Seb. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with the co-founder, Gerry. How are you today, Gerry?
Yeah, good, Seb. It's good to catch up again and talk all things DeFi.
Yeah, exactly. In our previous podcast, we mentioned the Gotchi verse and lending, but today we're just going to do a little bit of an overview on things that we're interested in, maybe NFTs that are going on, a little bit of safety, a couple of safety tips, and some unfortunate news in terms of like hacks and recent things like that. So, what's kind of on your radar at the moment, sir?
So one thing that's sort of popped up just recently that I haven't done a whole lot of research into, but it sort of just came across my radar is broker finance, which I think is like one of the early stage offerings for ThorChain's DeFi. They've got an IDO on at the moment, so you can come in and buy their initial token. But if that's passed by the time you listen to this, there might be another way that you could essentially get access to this token via some NFTs. Now, the details aren't fully clear because this could be like a retroactive snapshot, but the snapshots around these particular NFTs haven't happened yet. But if you hold I think it's a Lunar Bull on Terra and Thor Guard on Ethereum, those NFTs are eligible for some of the initial issuance of this broker token. So might be a sneaky way to get some access to this and potentially might even get higher upside by buying the NFT rather than buying the token directly.
Yeah, and
So that's one thing that's come up.
yeah, brilliant. And I know that you mentioned before the interview that you haven't done all the research into this
No,
protocol, but
yeah.
what
I
can you
normally
tell
would put a bit
us?
more time into something like this, but there is a really good video from DYOR that goes through some of the mechanisms around it. I gave it a bit of a listen yesterday in the background, multitasking, and basically the idea was that this is going to be a new platform that's going to offer great DeFi yield for farmers. So that alone often means people need to buy the token to get involved and start farming. And it feels like ThorChain is kind of almost like this whole new little DeFi ecosystem that's been untouched and uncovered just by the recent pools with Luna and UST going on there. So to be able to do native swaps between different things is pretty bullish. And you've seen the price respond with the Thor token, Rune, the ThorChain token, Rune. So all of the pairs on this broker finance are paired with Rune. So that's another catalyst for Rune itself. And you might start to see, when you get in early with a new DeFi ecosystem, often the yields are extremely high. So it's just a good thing. I would definitely recommend doing a bit more research yourself. I just been sort of strapped for time and I didn't want to sort of miss out on the token sale. So I took a small position myself and bought up some of those NFTs, Lunar Bulls and Thor Guards.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, well, we'll link the Denkuar's video below. And just remember, not financial advice, of course. Thor has a lot of potential, but because they're dealing with so many different blockchains and really complex smart contracts, they have been hacked twice in the past. Last year, I believe, like considerable hacks. The very smart team, very smart community, but just be aware that this is. I don't want to say it's a degen play or anything like that, but it's a higher risk play in general. Would that be accurate? Would you say?
I think it's just the platform's not proven yet. So
Yeah.
I know I have heard of, big whales out there that are looking at this thinking this sounds amazing, but they're not willing to stump up huge amounts of capital into this thing yet because of that risk. It just needs to prove itself over a longer period of time and win the trust of people. But from a small farmer, I think getting involved is fine. But obviously, if there is a big hack and something goes wrong with Rune, then the whole ecosystem gets affected. And we are seeing a lot of hacks lately. There's been quite a few of exploits and things happening just in the last week. Have you been across any of those, Seb?
Probably the biggest one, which has certainly made news, was the Ronin bridge, which is the Axie Infinity kind of side chain where you can bridge your assets from Ethereum to Ronin. That was hacked for $600 million worth of assets. And they didn't actually find out about the hack until I think 3 or so days after it actually happened. By which time, they're definitely on the back foot. There was a major issue with it. They don't have enough validators over there kind of securing the blockchain. And
Right.
they've put a lot of this Ethereum, I think, through Tornado Cash, which is a privacy protocol. and then they withdrew some of the Ethereum to exchanges. However, very, very small amounts. And people were wondering, oh, look at that. They've done it like this. Therefore, they've kind of, doxed themselves or made themselves known if the exchanges get involved. But there's not enough information for us to know that if they just send it to random people just to put them on a different trail or whatnot. But either way, a $600 million hack. I think that's or second largest.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I think there was another blockchain. I can't remember what it's called. But that was a $600 million hack. And then we had the one recently, one of the other bridges got done. Was it Wormhole? I think they had a $350 million hack.
Yeah, the Solana wormhole, that was considerable as well.
Yep.
With that in general, with the wormhole one, I believe Jump Capital, like a VC firm, said they're going to back all of that, like take responsibility for that, which is, very important. But thus far, I think Axie have said like they are going to make sure that everyone is not out of pocket. But exactly how they do that, I'm not sure. I mean, they'd have a good amount of money.
I saw a good video on this topic, Seb, that's probably worth linking to as well. I don't know if you've heard of CTO Larson, one of the YouTubers out there. I watch him occasionally. He had a really good theory on it. And his point of view was the amount of money that's been drained, the amount of ETH that's been drained from this Ronin bridge is so massive that the guy who did it isn't really easily going to be able to cash out, because there's just not enough liquidity in like Tornado Cash to wash all of this stuff. And it's going to be really obvious to, the people that have decent sort of analytics behind them to work out, all this money started flowing through into these wallets. Clearly that's part of the hack. So his thesis was this was actually bullish for crypto in general, because suddenly there's $650 million worth of ETH that needs to be bought by the Axie team to make everyone whole again. And the main guy won't be able to move it. So that was really interesting. And what I found super funny is apparently the guy that did the hack maybe knew that there was no way he could actually steal these funds realistically and get away with it. So apparently he opened a massive short on the Axie token, but because nobody found out about it for 6 days, he got smoked. So he was shorting the Axie token, and the Axie token pumped 30 or 40% between when the hack happened and when it was actually discovered. So if that's true, I don't know. But I found that quite amusing. So who knows?
How would they know that he was shorting it?
I think people had just seen that must have been some, open interest on some of the other platforms in large amounts and worked out the timelines. Now, I don't know. I haven't delved into it. I've just taken it off face value, but there was quite a few people tweeting that sort of stuff out. If that's the actual case, I think that's quite hilarious that that's actually gone down. And but that video from CTO Larson's really good, and he's actually got another excellent one on Rune itself. He goes into quite a big deep dive around it and the tokenomics and that sort of thing. So well worth watching both of those.
We'll link them below, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good take to have. I mean, bullish. I mean, a lot of the stuff is actually bullish. I saw another random tweet along the lines of when a gender, like when there's 50% females and 50% men in a particular activity, that's not like gender specific, like, I don't know, rugby or something like that, or like a sport. When it nears that 50%, 50%, when that happens, that's when you're no longer early. And right now, crypto is such
it's a sausage fest, isn't it?
It's a sausage fest times 1,000. So we know we're still
like
early.
that, actually.
Yeah.
There's lots of cultural issues with it. I've heard prominent females in the space just cop so much shit that they don't deserve, and it's pretty sad. But like you said, we're just so early. And I guess if you look at financial industries in general, it's still very male dominated because it's pretty intimidating. And I think crypto does have a lot of growing pains. The UX is awful. Even the most tech people I know struggle with some of it, things like security. But that just means we're super early. So if you've got some skin in the game and in the right products over time, I think there's a good chance that you'll do well for yourself. You're just gotta be really careful with how you do it. Spread your risk around. Maybe don't have all your eggs in one basket because, you're only one bad hack away or an exploit and you can lose the lot. Actually, there was another big hack. I don't know if you saw this one. I think it was Hasu from 3 Arrows Capital. One of the main VC guys, he got $3 million worth of NFTs drained from his wallet about a week ago. Did you see that one, Seb?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Or it might have been Arthur. I think it was Arthur.
Arthur was, yeah, Arthur. He got
Yep.
$1.6 million worth of NFTs drained. And the advice here is basically don't download things. Annoyingly, we're now
Yeah.
at the point where don't download things. So what he actually downloaded was he'll send like an email with like a fake link to a Google Doc, which wasn't a Google Doc. And he downloaded this like Excel spreadsheet, and that Excel spreadsheet had an executable file, which could then, like install remote monitoring software or something like that. So now we're kind of at the point, terribly, where it is safer. Although, Google's like, this big company, this big bad company in many ways, it's probably safer to use a Google Doc and share at a Google Doc and just look at it in a browser. Thus far, we don't have any knowledge of executable exploits with Google documents. So, a Google Excel sheet is probably the best way to share things. But there's another more complex way, which you're going to have to use YouTube for some tutorials if you do want to be even more secure, and that is you can run a virtual machine on your PC, install Windows, and then download things into that. And if that affects it, if you notice anything going on there, then it won't affect your main PC. However, doing it like that's still really, really a lot of tech savviness.
Yeah, it's pretty complex. I was going to say another alternative that I've heard some other sort of big whales actually use is they literally just buy a Chromebook, a Google Chromebook, and that's the only thing they use for their crypto. Because a lot of the apps now with Wallet Connect, that sort of thing, do just integrate straight in with a mobile wallet. And, I think a Chromebook just acts like basically a big Android phone. So I think some people are using that rather than the virtual PC method. But it is hard, especially for guys like us trying to make tutorial videos and stuff like that. You do need to touch on some of your crypto on your main PC that you're also using for your content creation, all that sort of stuff. So, but for the normal person, like getting a laptop that you literally only use for crypto and you don't even have it turned on when you're not needing to, that's probably not a bad way to go. And you can get something pretty cheap these days.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of cheap computers just because it's slow, but that's a good option. Maybe you get one with a little bit more expensive. And the final thing is remember to have a ledger. Get yourself a ledger. And it's not as fast as using, your MetaMask hot wallet just to go in and out of things, but you should have funds on that remain secure and you don't really kind of play around with them. And when you do play around with them, you play around with trusted applications. And you just have a lot more safety in mind when it comes to that.
Yeah, I was just say with the price of Terra pumping, there's been, like you sort of said, with Gotchi, if it blows up, you're going to get more interest with people trying to sort of attack you through Discord and that sort of thing. But with Terra pumping as much as it has, suddenly there's a lot of fake Google ads. So the top result, if you look for Anchor Protocol, that sort of thing, is a malicious website. Right. So people are interacting with those, and I've seen several people get their wallets drained because they put their seed phrase in, that sort of thing. So you're just going to be super careful. A lot of these guys have actually had their Luna staked, so they haven't been fully drained yet. They've just had their staked Luna undelegated, and there's a 21-day wait period. So there's people like, who can help me write a script so as soon as my Luna gets unbonded, I can pull it out to another wallet. So that's kind of interesting too. There's a bit of a tech war going on with devs writing scripts to try and save people's funds before the hackers get them.
That's interesting. So I guess on Luna, there's no way that you can take your delegated Luna and move it to like Stata Labs. And then, okay. Because on Solana, you can. To that delegator.
Yeah, I think that's just a general security thing within Cosmos chains. Right. I think that's how it works for all of them. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's the case with most of them. They're kind of bonded to the validator itself. And there is no way to move between validators. You've got to unbond or undelegate and redelegate to a different validator. And that all happens in the background.
Okay. Yeah. And you're 100% right, Gerry. Look, I would love to be able to tell our listeners that, we're being overly kind of cautious in order to kind of scare you, but in no way are we scaring you at all. Like, we should be scaring you a lot more in order to make sure that you understand to only use official links. A good place to go is to go to Twitter, find the protocol, make sure it has a sufficient amount of followers. Like, Terra's probably got 500,000 or more. I'm not really sure how many Terra money has. And then go from there. There will be a link there, and from there you can check and go from that. The other thing is, don't put your seed phrase into any website. There's a very, very few number of websites where you can, but for the sake of, when you're new and you don't know which ones you can use, just put them in none. Just go with that. And remember, whenever someone ever DMs you or messages you on Twitter saying, "Hey, I'm from tech support, I'll help you." No, they're not. They're not from tech support.
Oh.
The tech support of these companies, they are so understaffed because anyone that really knows crypto could make, more gains and have more fun by not just replying to people and doing tech support. And I've done it. It's very helpful to the ecosystem, but it's kind of repetitive and you don't really learn that much. So yeah, just be super vigilant there. And I do actually have experience in exactly what's going on here. And unless there's any more stuff with Terra, I was going to tell you a little bit stuff of Solana.
Sure. Only one little sort of thing I would mention, Seb, again with the Discord stuff is sometimes you're in an official Discord and under the announcements, official links come up, but the actual Discord's been owned and nobody knows and the mods are being kicked out. So be super careful aping into a mint that appears in an official announcement, even within a Discord. Like double check, verify, maybe go over to their Twitter and see have they tweeted out the same sort of thing, because a lot of people have been owned that way as well.
Yeah. I do actually have a Discord safety video, which it's not on DeFi Alpha, but I am going to do a whole kind of security series that will be on this YouTube channel and my personal YouTube channel, just with the purpose of trying to reach more people. So I won't link that yet, but if you want to find it, just search YouTube for Seb Montgomery and then just Discord, and you'll be able to see a little bit of that advice. But yeah, definitely worth being a little bit of knowledge, like a 5-minute video, and then going into Discord could save you tens of thousands of dollars or more quite easily. So I was just going to segue into Solana, and on the topic of scams, then I'll get back to a little bit of alpha. Exactly what Gerry was mentioning about, how you're getting all these Google ads. I saw the same thing happen with Solana. So I was working for Phantom, which is a mobile wallet, crypto wallet company for Solana and in the future other chains. And when I joined them, there was 30,000 users, and I was just working every day with their support. And when I left them, it was 1.5 million users. And they basically had, in my opinion, they weren't proactive enough. And a lot of blockchains probably won't be proactive enough. A lot of crypto companies won't be proactive in stopping these scammers. But they had so many fake wallets. And in Solana in general had so much hype around it that the number of people being scammed for like fake NFTs and stuff like that to save on fees was insane, absolutely insane. Now, there are solutions now that you can use to do trades, peer-to-peer trades, but the common thing that they used, and they still use, was using a trusted person. Only the trusted person was not a trusted person. So as Gerry mentioned, someone can come along, grab my profile picture off Discord and put Seb Monty in their name and pretend to be me. And for a new user, they won't know how to check. There are ways you can copy the ID, which is covered in the video, but generally speaking, like it's really hard for a newbie to see it. So that will happen with Terra, and it's going to happen with Solana again, and then other blockchains. So your first thing is, you do a little bit of dollar cost average, then you start to experience Web3 and playing on chain. But at the same time, you just spend 5 minutes every couple of days just learning about scams and learning how to avoid them. Otherwise, you could lose a huge amount. But now that's too much heavy emphasis, I guess, on negativity. A little bit of alpha on the Solana grapevine. Basically, OpenSea, which is the Ethereum and Polygon NFT marketplace, and Rarible, which is an NFT marketplace. Very, very popular, these marketplaces. OpenSea's huge. They are coming to Solana. The prediction is they'll be launching this month, sometime in April. So there's a lot of hype coming over from Ethereum and other people in Solana, basically buying up, the blue chip NFTs in particular. And I do have my biases, 100% I have my biases. Degen Ape Academy, the Trash Pandas, and the Degen Eggs, all of them have gone through crazy tears from when I've kind of been speaking about them in the past, around 30 Sol. Now they're around 100 Sol. Pandas were like 1.9 Sol. Now they're about 10 Sol. So they're pumping. But other ones are pumping as well, like D-Gods and things like that. So entirely up to you if you enter into something like that. But, if you have the funds, you might want to consider the DGN Trash Pandas as maybe an early entry. But at least go and play in that ecosystem if it interests you, because it is the best NFT ecosystem in terms of bringing in new users, as Ethereum's just quite expensive and quite difficult. So, that's it.
Seb, with OpenSea, I had heard a rumor that they're going to allow people to pay in ETH.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor as well, yeah.
Are they going to abstract that away, do you know? So it's sort of like, it goes through the wormhole in the back end, but, a user doesn't really know the difference. It's just a few extra transactions or clicks, and suddenly they've got their, their DGen egg over on the other side.
I'm not sure. I don't firstly, whatever happens, it won't be rolled out instantly. In my opinion, It'll probably be a couple of months down the road, but there'll be two options. One, probably the easier option would be you could, they could have like an application where you could send your Ethereum from your MetaMask wallet across to Solana, and then, have your Ethereum, and then they'll give you a little bit of Solana for gas, and then you could go and pay in ETH, and that would be like Solana ETH, like the Solana bridge version of ETH. That would be the first option. The second option would be, as you mentioned, where you use Wormhole, and this gets a lot trickier. So the gas fees would be considerably higher, but you're adding more of that natural smart contract risk. And remember, Wormhole has been hacked in the past. They've got a lot of money, a lot of smart people kind of protecting it, but just keep that in mind. So now,
how do you get Solana ETH? Is that a different bridge, Seb, to get from Ethereum? Is that a different bridge to Wormhole?
You can use Wormhole. Yeah, you can use Wormhole, or you can use AnySwap goes as well. I'm pretty sure.
AnySwap. Okay, gotcha.
There'll be other chains, other bridges. But I guess what has to happen now is, and this might be completely fine for some ETH users, but you'd have to buy the NFT. So you'd send you do your transaction with Ethereum, and then it would have to trigger something where it bridges the Ethereum across to Solana, converts the Ethereum into Solana, pays for the NFT, then takes the NFT, and then bridges it back to you and gives you an Ethereum version of that NFT. And then in the future, if you wanted to, you'd have the ability, I guess, to bridge it back to Solana. Now, all that might sound technical and like, whoa, and it's because it is whoa. But I would predict the gas fees with that would be quite expensive. So that's why I'm not sure if maybe early on they'll allow you just to have Ethereum on the Solana network. So you have that really low gas fee, and then you just pay for it that way. But exactly what they do, I imagine it will be not seamless initially. So if you want, want NFTs, I would, get some Solana ready, or at least,
I mean, once you're in the Solana ecosystem, it's a lot easier. Like, there's a lot less friction for an ETH user. But there's so many people that just haven't made that divide. They haven't jumped across that divide into Solana land yet. And I guess that's the bullish catalyst, isn't it, Seb? That there could be a lot of money flowing into Solana from Ethereum, and especially with all the people sitting on these massive NFT gains, with all these ApeCoin bag holders that would have suddenly been minted into millionaires. They might be going, well, I might spread my risk and get a bit speculative on Solana. So it could be a bit of a gold rush over there.
Yeah, and I do believe the DGN Ape Academy is the Bored Ape Yacht Club of Solana. Plenty of bias there, but that's what I believe, They have the vision, and it will take time to play out, but that's what I think's, really going to happen. Because I guess we can kind of refer very briefly to CryptoPunks being, the original, and then they have a huge amount of value. And then Bored Ape Yacht Club came along, and they came along with a very different approach, really cool art and something that you'd want on your wall. And that's kind of what's happened with the DGN Ape Academy. But either way, I guess the alpha is Solana's heating up. If you have any shorts on, you might just want to check your technical analysis on that. because fundamentally it has a huge amount of strength. And I guess that's about all of my alpha I have. I guess there's one more thing that we should mention, Gerry, and that is if anyone is interested in Luna, and if you're not interested, at least have enough interest to go and listen to the Lunar Orbit podcast, which is Gerry's epic podcast. And at the moment, you're doing the $10,000 into $100,000 challenge on Luna. And I believe that's going well for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to create a little video that is basically almost like an active DeFi tutorial where I'm just in there playing with things, exploring new opportunities as they come up. And then obviously it's a bit of a clickbaity headline to try and get people in. But yeah, it's gone well in the first couple of weeks. I think I'm up about $4,000. So obviously Luna's done really well, but because it's such a new ecosystem, there's so much opportunity if you can put the time in. And so I'm really enjoying just sort of having a bit of a play in small amounts with all these new offerings. And yeah, it's going well so far.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is, you have to put the time in. But this is not financial advice, but you've shown exactly what you've done, and you'll continue to show exactly what you've done. So it'd be a good thing to watch and then base your research if you're going to try it. I personally, I'm going to find some money today. I'm just going to be doing exactly what Gerry does. Not financial advice. Disregard my bullish glasses, but bet on Gerry. That's what I think.
The funny thing is, Seb, like for everything I do, there's probably 5 other things I could have done. There's just so much in there already, and there's only about 15 protocols running. So soon, in a few months' time, I'm not going to be able to keep up with it myself. And there's new things dropping every day, and they really are Lego pieces over there in Terra. Sort of with Anchor as sort of the base layer, that 20% interest that you can get on UST, and everything is just snapping into that and building upon it with leverage and derivatives, and it's just blowing up. So yeah, it's going to be hard to keep up soon.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. Well, look, I think we'll end it there unless there's anything else you want to add, Mr. Alpha Source.
I think we might save it for future ones. There's been some big stuff happen recently. It's all over Twitter about basically the curve wars, but we won't go into that today because that could be an entire podcast alone.
Yep. All right, we'll tackle that in one of the upcoming ones. So thanks very much for listening, listeners. This will be on YouTube as well as on Spotify. Share it with your friends. Some of our videos and podcasts will be a little bit easier. This is probably not the easiest, but it's a good amount of alpha. So maybe share it to your more experienced people. And on that note, thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.